Good morning. Thank you for coming. Excited to be here. This is my first time in Australia, so suggestions welcome on what to do later on. So far, I absolutely love it. So hopefully you're going to enjoy the event. I love EdTech, always have, spoke at several of them, attended a number of them, so it is my true pleasure to be here. Today, I'll talk to you about 5 trends that I think we need to look at as marketers and honestly as business people in the year to come. And sort of that knowledge comes from several places. One is just being on the brand side for so long, looking at what are the main key leading brands doing in social, and second is what are the agencies kind of worried about as far as how to service their customers better moving forward. So with that, let's kick it off. Number 1, the power of millennial generation. I know Trish is in the audience, so she's gonna do a second keynote. She's gonna talk a little bit about sort of what GAP does there. I will sort of kick off in a generic sense and talk to you about why this is important and let her show you some key studies. The reality is 50% of population, world population, is under 30 years old. These are digital natives, people who grew up with technology. These are your future customers. So the question becomes, do we know who they are? And if your answer is, I don't care because most of people who buy from me are baby boomers, you're absolutely wrong, and I'll explain why. Digital natives is absolutely different generation. They're sophisticated, they're educated, they're global, they know no limits, they're very confident, and they have a high BS radar. So they know when you're not authentic. And here's why this is important. The first truth about millennials is we as consumers always use brands we grow up with. We hear about them, we use them, we see our parents use them. It is a very natural thing. So the question becomes, if your key customer is not Gen Y or Gen Z, how are you preparing for them to become your future customer? Second one is millennials grew up with technology. You know, when we get our iPad in the mail and we open it up and we go, oh my God, they're like, okay, it's just a part of the thing I grew up with. So millennials are chief technology officers in most households. They influence buying decisions of a lot of baby boomers and younger generations around them. And the third truth about just us as marketers is we have no idea how to market this generation because we're so used to doing things a certain way. Now social exploding and Generation Y and Gen Z, they want to do things differently. Let's look at some numbers of millennials in Australia. I pulled this data recently, and basically what it shows is, look, estimated number of millennials worldwide is 1.7 billion. Estimated number of Australian millennials out of that is 4.2 million. 20% of that, 20% of millennials of Australian population are millennials. And this trend actually grows. There's going to be more and more young people coming in the workforce and behaving differently and having different expectations. So how are we going to treat them as our potential customers? Here's another graph that shows that their collective buying power is growing. I mean, if you look at the chart and compare the previous generation, so non-millennials, probably mostly baby boomers, and millennials, you can see that they are aggressive, they're very knowledgeable, they go after what they want, and they are making more money than other generations. So what does that mean to us as marketers? Here's several things that I've learned. I've looked at this problem for Intel for last year and a half. We've run multiple programs, and here's the things I've learned across multiple worldwide studies and multiple brands engaging millennials. Here's some a quick summary of the key learnings for you. Peer influence is very important to them. So when you say word of mouth is great and it's impactful, it's even more so to millennials. So here's one of the studies that Mobile Youth Report showed, and they basically say 62 of decisions that millennials make, purchasing decision, is influenced by their peers, their friends, and their family. Now, make no mistake, they are still checking out the reviews for your product. So if your product or service sucks, they're not going to consider it. So you have to have a combination of both. But what they're using as their basic filter for decision making is mostly peer-to-peer recommendation. They really look at your brand now way beyond the product that you produce. If you produce a quality product, but you're not a responsible brand, and you don't have a long history of a heritage that shows that you're a responsible brand, they're not going to engage with you. So a lot of brands nowadays look at cause marketing or bringing to light some of the things that they're doing for the environment, for for the young kids around the world, because that's what millennials care about. And this one is one of the critical ones, and I think Trish is probably going to reiterate that with her example, is key thing is you need to market with them, not to them. Crowdsourcing and elements of co-creating your brand, very important. So because they look at it and they go, look, the collective power of us as a generation is way higher than just one individual making marketing decisions. So what they want to do is they want to engage in decision making with you. So some of the most successful brands use co-creation, especially with the millennials, to drive what their brand elements potentially might look like, still staying on brand, but experimenting in interesting ways. And they're always going to their communities and asking, what do you think? Give us your opinion. Can you come over and participate in co-creating your brand with us? Self-expression, allow youth to express themselves. Personalization is extremely important. We also talk a little bit of sort of status. Status really matters to them, but what matters more is that they are unique. They have an opportunity to personalize. I'll give you an example. So about over a year ago, Intel launched in Asia only, we launched an application called Museum of Me. How many of you heard about it by chance? Some hands going up. So we decided to try it out. It's an application that's nothing new, kind of been done before, but we've done it in a sort of, with Intel flair. And it's an app that feeds you pictures and videos out of your Facebook page and then builds a museum of you. So you're walking around seeing pictures of friends and different critical moments in life. You see some videos, and at the end, the robot kind of puts in your name out of the pictures of your friends. And we're like, okay, well, it'll probably be something fun. Well, overnight it crashed our service because it blew up in Latin America and US, everywhere. As a matter of fact, Mashable covered the fact that Intel can't put enough service on their own marketing programs because we didn't expect it to be this popular. The reason why it was popular is because it was done on brand, but it also allowed people to express who they are, to show how unique they are. And a lot of people, I think in the first week there were 1 million downloads or personal applications created. Most of them were millennials. Millennials are stimulation junkies. So everything that you can do to kind of give them the feeling of happiness, satisfaction, thrill, element of surprise, they love that. And the fact that you can only do that online is not correct. They're also looking at that from offline perspective. So kind of build in the gamification elements, invite them to make sure that they stay in a sustainable way. So make sure your engagement is sustainable. Make sure that there's something in it for them. Make sure that you create an environment that allows them to bring their friends in and show off. Oh, look at that, I'm on this leaderboard, I'm way above you, what do you got? That really allows them to talk to each other, to engage with each other, and that's what they're looking for. They're also an entrepreneurial generation. So about a year ago, I launched a program called Intel Innovators. And the key premise of that was, look, we're creating technology that allows different businesses to thrive, that allows us to do a lot of amazing things in life. But how are we helping young generation to be entrepreneurial? How are we helping their ideas grow? And so we created a total unique Facebook application from scratch that allowed people to submit, 18 to 24-year-olds to submit their ideas, their business ideas, and allowed everybody else to vote on them. But it wasn't just that simple. There was a lot of complex elements. For example, first round on voting was done by professors at Carnegie Mellon and Harvard and other universities that actually teach entrepreneurship and know a good business idea from bad business idea, though we can argue some of that. But once that is picked, once the top 20 was picked, that's when we allowed everybody to engage around those ideas. So people would engage around them, and they would share, and by doing so, they would actually build social capital. So at the end of every month, we had top fan who built most social capital decide on who out of the top 5 finalists every month got $50,000. And then we had angel investors decide who is out of the top 5 gets another $50,000. And we had a live round of pitching. We had top fan on the line. We have our angel investors on the line. And those money were awarded. The biggest part that people liked about this program wasn't that we just gave money and say goodbye. The biggest part was that we actually stayed with those entrepreneurs and we gave them education, how to grow their business or their idea, how to make it tangible, who to partner with, and really provided that sort of support. Extremely important. 60% of content creators. Are you taking advantage of that? Or are you still holding on to a brand and saying, look, I'm not allowing anybody else to come in and talk about things that I can't control, which is way past that. They love talking about the brands they love, believe it or not. They really do. So how are you taking advantage of that? Image and status matter. 40% will pay extra for products that are consistent with their image they want to convey. So when you look at marketing techniques you're using, use me marketing techniques that actually shed the light on them. What are they doing? How are they unique? Why the content they're creating is important? And reach out and highlight that, because that's the relationship they're looking for. And obviously, mobile device is an indispensable part of their body. As a matter of fact, I've seen several studies that say millennials actually prefer to rather have their mobile device than have sex, which was interesting. But they're like, yeah, if I wake up and I have my mobile device all day long, I don't need much else. And like, All right, so let's talk about the second topic. And that is convergence of paid, owned, and earned media. Last year at Intel, we looked at that and said, look, we have a social media team, and we had traditional media or paid media team. We're kind of integrated. We're working together somewhat well, but we need to take it one step further. And we need to use our paid media strategies to amplify our original, organic, most impactful content in real time. For that, we need to integrate. Who can tell me what sort of media is Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter? What sort of media do you think it is? Exactly. It's all three. It used to be it was just owned or it's earned and it's separate. Now it's all three because you can amplify it. So let's look at it. First of all, you need to make sure, if you're going to do this, you need to make sure you have convergence of mindsets and convergence of departments. Integration needs to go way beyond just, look, we kind of talk to each other, but we just leave it to chance, or it's a one-off program. It needs to happen first. It's all about the mindset. There's also needs to be convergence of tools and analytics, and that is the biggest problem. Analytics and just our whole industry is so defragmented. I mean, if you look back at how I measure ROI for all my efforts I run across digital, I probably used at Intel about 10 to 15 tools to do that. So we're still not there, but we need to look at new ways to measure what's important specifically to our brand, and that will create a holistic story. This is a study that was done by Ogilvy. That was one of the first studies to show the actual impact of using social together with traditional to impact purchases. So Ogilvy looked at 404 restaurants, and they tracked exposure to 20+ media sources to understand what really triggers purchase decisions. And here's a couple of key things that they found. 17% increase in spend compared to the previous time, right, that they tracked, or previous weeks, if people were exposed to both social media and PR messages. 2 to 7x if there were other combination of used with social media with traditional media exposure. So there is a ton of data that's starting to show that if you combine the two, you will see higher ROI. This is one of my favorite charts that's put together by Altimeter that basically shows you how the whole process works within the company. And we actually, any company that combines the two follows that. So what it starts with is, here's my content strategy. Then I go and publish the content I produce across different channels. Then I see how people engage with it. And based on that, looking at real-time data analytics, I amplify the content that does well. Not only I learn from that to adjust my content strategy going forward, but I actually amplify the content that's organically interesting. Why? Because if it's interesting to my community, it's going to be interesting to anybody else who wants to look at you as a brand. And then you go look at it and you go, how do we restructure the whole combination of how we produce, distribute content, and how we amplify it, and the cycle continues again and again. Here's just one of the examples. This one is pretty tactical, but I think it sort of sends an interesting message. So, you know, everybody is kind of aware of what Facebook newsfeed does, right? So it filters particular messages and it serves up those messages to a percentage of audience. Facebook is a little bit aggressive in saying that, look, probably about 16% of your audience, so if you have 1 million fans, 16% of them will see your message, but it's actually less than that. So Page Lover did this study that says, look, depending on the page size, meaning how many fans you have, there is an approximate percentage of fans seeing it. So basically, it varies from about 2% to 9%. And the bigger the size, the smaller number of people see it. So there's a problem, right? Because you want to make sure more people see your message. So what do? You look at two things. You look at relevance and you look at amplification and you marry them. So again, tactical example, but that's what we've been doing. We've been tracking it for a while and we've been looking at, here's one of the examples, right? So organically, we posted an image and said, look, name this processor, which our geeky community loves any challenge like that. So they've engaged it and they said, look, okay, so we had 7,000 people like it, 5,000 comments, over 600 shares. Back then, we had smaller audience size, so it was pretty darn good for us. So we picked out on posts like that were really interesting and had a lot of engagements going on, and we then decided to amplify them. So we put a little bit of budget behind it, and we get a huge, well, back then for us, it was a huge increase. This was one of the first increase in engagement. And you know, on Facebook, the more people engage with your kind of content, the more people will see it. The more new people will see it. They go, Intel has a page. Let me go check it out. Let me like it. So our organic following was increasing because we were serving better content and we were amplifying the content that actually fits our communities and the one that they engage with. So that begs a difference, right? When we talk about that, we say, look, everything is happening in real time. So what do you do with that? Because we all know when brands schedule their strategies for paid media, they do it a year ahead, and they do it on a global level, and they say, well, you know, this country is going to do this, and this country is going to do that. Most of them do. And they stick to that plan. So there's not much of a real time built in usually. And it needs to be. Real-time marketing is becoming either a very good advantage for you or a big challenge for you as a brand if you don't know how to do it right. To be effective, you have to have the sense of urgency anymore. You have to produce the content on the fly. Gone are the days that it's going to take you 6 months, even 6 weeks to produce a TV spot or something else that has, you know, high brand quality. You have to react immediately. And so what does that mean? It means it's going to have an impact to your brand strategy, content marketing strategies, media optimization, customer service, even product development. So let's look at that. Exposure to RTM increases awareness, consideration, and purchase intent. So this is the latest graphic put together by eMarketer. I love them. They actually have really interesting perspective, and they always combine a lot of data out there in a concise way. So here, they looked at it and say, look, behavior of US customers before and after exposure to real-time marketing, right? So you can see red was before, black is after. They're looking at the global data now, but in US, and I'm pretty sure across the world it's the same trend. If you respond in real time, not just on your social properties, but in a creative way with everything else, including using traditional media in creative ways, you will get higher positive sentiment, and that only begins with you're probably going to also get higher purchase intent. But here's the thing. Relevancy has a deadline. How many of you have seen this Oreo example? Super Bowl, blackout, and suddenly Oreo comes out like this fast, comes out with this tweet that says, power out, no problem. You can still dunk in the dark. Oreo branded, look at this, 16,000 retweets. I've never seen this many retweets for any brands. Well, some of them, but very, very rarely. And it begs the question, how the heck did they do it and not a lot of other people done it effectively? Now, some of them did. Here's Tide, for example, and they had way less number of the retweets, but also pretty smart. We can't get your blackout, but we can get your stains out. Here's one reminding us that, look, there are some people in the world that never have power. Some went salesy and go, well, hey, our stores have candles, come on over. And some of them got a little bit competitive, poking a little bit fun of their competition. Now, personally, my favorite was this. Calvin Klein came out with a quick Vine video, which was actually pretty awesome, and said, look, since the lights are still out, take a look at this guy doing crunches in Calvin Klein underwear. It's a nice loop. I have no idea why this didn't get more retweets. Like I said, personally, my favorite. Relevancy has a deadline, but it's more than that. If you don't make marketing personal, if you don't make it relevant in real time, which is very hard to do, it basically falls on deaf ears. Here's my own personal example. Last Christmas, I tweeted REI, which is our local sort of sporting goods store, and they're amazing. Product is high quality, and I said, look, desperate woman out here, don't have any Christmas gifts, what do you got for me? And half an hour later, which totally knocked my socks off, they came back with a custom video saying, hey, you asked us what you can come pick up. By the way, check out this GoPro, great camera, here's why. We kind of took a look at you, personal video directed at me in a half an hour. REI, I know they don't have huge budgets. How is it that they can respond in real time like that and others can't? So I dug deeper. I'm like, I want to know what's going on. So I actually connected with these guys, talked to their social media team. 3 people. They came up with this idea on a very small budget, put the green screen back in their stores, in several of their stores, and invited their green vest people who work in the stores and know their product in and out to just address those personal questions in real time. They shot 80 videos in probably about a week. Their traffic to their website doubled during that week. They repeated the same thing for, which is another story, and I also tried it out, which was hilarious, and they used Vine this time, for Father's Gift in June. Making marketing personal like that does not cost a lot of money. It does take some preparation. So let's talk about preparation in a couple of seconds. Real-time marketing is also the way of thinking. Because if you want to be cool or just cheeky in real time and do it once, it's great, you're going to get a little bit buzz, but doing it consistently, you need to have a way of thinking. Here's a friend of mine, Ramon De Leon. He actually has franchise of several Domino's pizzas in Chicago. Everybody knows him. If you go pull up #RamonWow and you tweet at him, you get immediate response. You can get a pizza within 5 minutes. I mean, the guy is amazing. He uses social media like a master. But what he is he's a person who cares about their customers. This is a guy who gives a damn. When he got an opportunity to meet MC Hammer at one of the events, what is the first thing that he does? Hey, can I have an autograph? Kind of. But he says, hey, I have a customer who loves you. She comes to my store, she talks about you, she listens to your music all the time. Can you give me an autograph so I can take it back to her? While he was doing the autograph, he actually, Ramon took a video and he posted and said, hey, can you say a couple of words to her? And so here's MC Hammer saying, hey, here's a signature, nice to hear about you, have a great day. How many brands go that extra mile for the customers they love? There's smart marketing and there's smart car. So one day, they get this tweet. Saw a bird had crapped on a smart car. Totaled it. Now, they look at this guy handle and go, small following, works at the agency, not a big deal really, no need to follow up. And they go, we'll follow up. They go and create in real time an infographic that actually showcases how many bird craps it takes to total the car. He says, actually couldn't have been one bird because it would take 4.5 million pigeon poops, 360,000 turkey, and 45,000 emu poops to actually total our car. I mean, how cool is that? That is creative. That is using the opportunities real time. The guy comes back with this. Best social media response ever. Absolutely outsmarted by smart car. Who wants to get tweets like that? Who wants to get conversation going and use opportunities like that in real time? The reality is it's not easy. Real-time response takes a lot of preparation. And mind you, I didn't say planning. I didn't say canned responses. I didn't say something that's actually prepared and then you push it out if you don't have any other content. Actual preparation. You need to have listening set up, command centers. I just actually was yesterday at NAB. Amazing command centers. They're doing so many cool things. I was actually quite surprised to see financial industry. I believe they're one of the 4 biggest Australian banks actually engaged this actively. Meaningful data. You need to have employee empowerment and agency empowerment. For things to happen real time, you need to trust them to do the right thing. You need to have flexible strategies and you need to take risks, but make sure your risk taking is on brand. You need to think and operate like a publisher. We've spent last year at Intel talking to folks like New York Times and Wall Street Journal, a lot of other publications, trying to figure out how do they do things in real time, what do they do with their content, how they find the best stories, how can we start thinking more like a publisher, and you have to have always on budget. The problem is that we don't have a flexible piece of budget set up to react real time if we really need to. Preparation, it's all about preparation. Looking back at Oreo and what they've done, they had over a year to prepare. What you're looking at right now is 100 images, part of the 100 images they've created last year from June to September in the campaign they call the Daily Twist, where they created this memory muscle of how to respond in real time every day, depending on what's going on in the world or whether there's a celebration or a Disney movie launching, whatever that is. They put out real-time graphics, which people engaged with and they loved. It's like playing tennis, memory muscle. So when the time came and the blackout happened, they were prepared. Talking about content and real time, let's talk a little bit about the rise of visual marketing, the rise of visual social media. One of the most critical trends that's happening right now. Why? Here's why. The amount of information that is being created every 48 hours today is the same amount of information that was created from 2003 since the beginning of time. Going back, beginning of time to 2003, that's how much information existed. We are cranking it out every 48 hours right now. How are we deciding? What are our filters? And it goes even more into tactical thing. If you really look at how social networks and other sort of digital communities filter messages, they always prefer rich media and visuals. Look at the numbers. We all know the numbers. Millions and millions of photos uploaded on Facebook and Instagram. Now video is rising in the numbers. It is insane how many people engage with visuals. And every single time you look at your Facebook newsfeed, what are the things that you pay attention to? Text messages or messages that have either video or image attached to them? Today's storytelling requires visual storytelling. As a matter of fact, the topic is so important. After I wrote a couple of posts on Fast Company about it last year, several publishers reached out to me and said, can you publish a book on that? So next year, or I'm working on right now, next year, the book in full color is coming out, talking about the power of visual storytelling. Why is it? Why is it important? The picture is worth 1,000 words. Images speak to the heart. They transcend cultures. Anybody who speaks any sort of language understands what this means. Images tell stories, and they speak louder than words. Now, I was told that if I use images of the kittens or puppies in the presentation, I'm officially a speaker, so can I have a collective aww? There you go. You need to recalibrate your content strategy to include visuals. Here's some data for you. 2002 study, one of the studies found 44% of respondents are more likely to engage with brands if they post pictures. Facebook's top 10 brand pages, photos and videos drive the most engagement. Here's another data from Facebook. 2x engagement with visuals on Facebook overall. They gave me that data last year. 90% high engagement with timely visuals. So what we did do at Intel? We looked at the ways to create content that had our branding all the way across. So you can see the die. This is actually Intel's die as a sort of this branding, recognizable branding element across all of them. But I mean, look at them. Ready for the big game? Be our Valentine. First day of spring. Happy first day of spring. Who wants to post that and get this number of people commenting and engaging? I mean, 12, 13, 1,700 shares. Why? Because the image is appealing and people want to celebrate with you. Infographics. We posted that one over a year ago. Still one of the most shared infographics on Pinterest. Pinterest is an amazing driver. One of the best traffic drivers and one of the best sources to make decisions on which brands to buy, because it provides a lot of, you can do all kinds of things with visuals. You can put the recipes out there, depending on what your business is. What we've done, which was interesting, is one of our boards, if you look at it, there's a board called Fan Love. So this one is a combination of images fans created for us and posted in our social communities. I reach out to them, I go, can I repost it on my Pinterest page? They're like, absolutely. As a matter of fact, here's a couple more because I love the heck out of your brand. I wanted to feature that. People love that. SlideShare. So when my book went live in January, all I did is it took 12 quotes from Mark Zuckerberg, 12 quotes that I really, really liked, that show that he sticks to the purpose and he's an effective leader. Not always, but most of the time, and that he's a visionary. 12 quotes I posted on SlideShare. Almost 100,000 views. Well, guys, if I can do that personally with no support, no media, nothing, you can do that too. SlideShare is an amazing resource for a lot of people to find information, statistics, how-to guides, any documents, including videos. Look at SlideShare as an important, engaging, sort of community-building element and include it in your strategy. And last one, the age of advocacy. So you remember years ago, we kind of engaged with people face-to-face. And there were small groups. So at Intel, we used to go to computer clubs, people of 50, 20, 50, 70 people, small groups. And we talked to them about the technologies we're producing, why this is important. Because we did that in the hopes that they're going to tell people, just mainstream folks, and say, this is amazing what's coming up, buy that. Small groups. We build relationships with these people. Then years ago, which I started social strategy for Intel about 5 years ago, and we started growing our communities like crazy all across all of the networks. Over 30 million fans now, if not 40, across 50 countries right now for Intel. And we went from this to this. It's a number. It's a large number. But there is no good relationship building tactics or ways to filter real advocates. They are, but it's very hard to do. So we're going from really meaningful relationship to a vanity number. And now it is a year and it is the age of advocacy. People are coming back and saying, look, I want to bring it back to little. Why? Let me tell you that. Let me tell you why people want to build communities with a smaller number of people, but in more meaningful ways. Here's a customer brand relationship model that we at Branderati designed. And when I look at that, and when I talk about advocacy and why it becomes important as a filter, so we talked about visuals as one of the filters. Another filter, because of the amount of information, because we live in the age of infobicity, people are looking for additional filters. So not only content filters, but the personal filters. And the biggest personal filter is a person who used that product, used that service before, and they tell you about it. It is all about advocacy. Right now, advocacy is the new influence. Note I don't say cloud and popularity, advocacy. So people go from lack of knowledge to kind of learning about your brand to liking it. And then there is this threshold where they go, I love this brand. It resonates with me. I love what they're doing. I love how they build relationship with me. And then you go to loyal. Loyalty and advocacy is a stage where if something bad happens with your brand, these people will stick up for you. They will be there. Nobody's going to shoot them off. They will be there, and they will be a huge marketing and recruitment tool and crisis management wall for you. They'll stand in front of you. Happened at Intel because our Facebook page was attacked about 3 years ago. And they stood in front and they said, no way. You're not touching this. We love this brand. You got a problem with them, you got a problem with us. If you get your brand to that level of protectiveness and advocacy, you do not need a ton of money for marketing. You don't need to go reach out new consumers. They will bring them to you. Do you know who your advocates are? That is the critical question, the hardest question our clients ask, and it is becoming easier and easier to answer. Who thinks this is photoshopped? Come on, be brave, right? That's what I thought. I woke up one day, this is on our Facebook page, he casually tags Intel in this picture, said, hey, just got a tattoo of Intel. I'm like, no. I mean, I know Coke or Harley Davidson, Intel isn't that. I love the heck out of this brand. There's no way anybody's putting logo that large on his back. It's not gonna happen. Who is this crazy, awesome person? So we actually contacted him. Found out he's for real. His name is Damian Bailey's diehard Intel fan, early 20s, from Canada, first trip to Las Vegas, and he goes, fully sober, mind you, to the tattoo parlor and takes a video of him taking us a tattoo, and he's proud of it because he loves our brand. Here's the reality. 10% of a population holding an unshakable belief in something can impact and influence the rest of the population. As a matter of fact, scientists found that it's not just a case every now and then, it's always the case. So my question to you, who is your 10%? Do you know who they are? Are you engaging with them? Are you building relationships with them? Instead, this is what we do as marketers. Look, they're hyper-connected, it's great. The bad news is, that's all they are. Alyssa Milano, out of nowhere, nobody asked her, it was just a quick endorsement, tweeted that image. Millions of Twitter fans or followers always engage with her. If it would be a non-engaged community, fine, but people love Alyssa. She's very authentic. They engage with her on Twitter. She tweets about this book. The offers go, ka-ching, big book sales. Next week, zero. Zero books sold. They go, excuse me, how is that possible? So they wanted to run another experiment. They went to Tim O'Reilly and said, Tim, we don't get it. You have a big following, you kind of talk about this topic. Do you mind tweeting this so we can see what the impact is? He did. Week later, 1 book sold. If you go after influencers and create short-term buzz, it'll be great. But you're not creating long-term loyalty. Instead, this is what the graph should be, which is, by the way, they're done by Hugh MacLeod, a great cartoonist, amazing guy. Do you know everybody? No. I just know everybody who matters. Technorati ran this report, and they said that a big percentage of people now agree that the smaller community that rally around the same passion points collectively have way greater influence. And I'm not talking reach. I'm not talking impressions. I'm not talking popularity. I'm talking real influence. Influence for people to click, go to your site, buy. That, to me, is influence. Here's some stats. I'm not going to read all of them, but this is why advocacy matters. CMO see it as a top priority. Marketing-induced consumer-to-consumer word of mouth, if you have the relationship with those people and they advocate on your behalf, 2x the sales of paid advertising. Customers are referred to by the customers, 37% higher retention rate, et cetera, et cetera. Smaller advocacy communities are more likely to influence the purchase. They increase, it's been proven by McKinsey and a lot of other studies, they prove that they help you increase your market share. So why not engage? Right now, today, we need to start building movements. We need to stop creating campaigns on a short-term basis. We need to start building movements, and we need to start measuring it. This is just a quick screenshot of our platform that'll sort of empowers you to do that, but it's not about that. It's not about what technology you use. It's about what are the questions you're asking up front. And do you really care about sustainable brand love? And brand bonding, which is the term Trish introduced me to, love that term. Do you want sustainable brand love? Do you want them to bond with your brand, or do you not? So in conclusion, engage millennials. Pay attention to them. They're very, very important to your future success. Integrate poem for a bigger impact. Make sure it works well together. Cultivate the mindset of agility. Very, very hard to do, especially in a global brand of 100,000 people, I can tell. But it's not impossible. Don't forget the visuals when you're creating your content strategy. And please stop creating campaigns. Start building movements. I want to leave you with the one last message, but for that, I need help in playing a video. Slimming doesn't have to be boring, ladies and gentlemen. Marketing doesn't have to be boring. If Nestle can market their water brand in such an interesting way, we can market anything. Thank you.